That's the best thing in life. You know, mấy người mà không hiểu, they'll never get it.
Yes.
Some people won't ever get it. Like, people still wonder why I stopped working for TV news. And really only the people who've been in TV news hoặc là know someone in TV news understand the freedom that you have when you're not in TV news. So I'm so much happier.
Welcome to The Vietnamese. I'm your host, Kenneth Nguyen. Being part of a culture of nearly 100 million Vietnamese people in the world today comes with a lot of pain, proud history, and privilege. Join me as I highlight and explore the Vietnamese experience from all over the world. Yeah, that's one of the I prepared. It's like, how many Emmys did you get? Five. That's, I mean, just to get one Emmy is like a big deal, right? I mean, five. To get five and then walk away from that world that you've built, I think over 2 decades. And
yeah. Well, the amazing thing is the last Emmy I received was after I retired because I did another project afterward. And so that was pretty amazing. I'm most proud of that one.
Wow. And then it's like, I've seen you, you go from that to hula hoops, you go to karaoke, you do consenting adults. I've seen you do, all of these things. And I was showing my mom this, your channel all week. And I'm like, see, don't you wish that you can tell all your church friends and all the people in your generation to not pressure their kids? And then she's like, honey, you guys are all old. and I really wish that we had this sort of push when we were younger to kind of just like be able to explore and just do our hula hoops, right? Our proverbial hula hoops and our karaoke's or whatever, and not be so focused on our Emmys or, can you say about that?
Yeah, but it's we need to understand it was a generational and cultural difference, right? Because, I'm really considered a first generation Vietnamese here. And we had different things to worry about, right? The younger generation, they don't have to worry about the things our parents and we had to worry about growing up. So it makes sense. It makes total sense that back then, the focus was on, getting a good job that paid a lot of money, right? Yeah. And so I totally understand it. But I think the future is really bright for Vietnamese, really bright, because now we see that there are so many other things that we can do and excel at that aren't traditional.
We're thinking about the finances all the time. I was talking to a dear friend, a new dear friend now, his name's Dr. Phil, ironically, in Orange County. And he's, he's been a doctor for many years, and he's gotten acting for 2.5 years now, and he's making some headway. And, he sounds so happy to be doing that finally. But he's a successful doctor as well. And I respect and I love that, that fearlessness from somebody like Dr. Phil and yourself.
Yeah, there's so much holding us back. It's just going to take time.
Yeah,
that's all.
So can you tell me about the new direction that you've taken with YouTube?
Well, I've always wanted to I have this weird love for language, especially English. I'm very particular about grammar and spelling and pronunciation. And now I'm actually putting it to good use, and I've wanted to do this English thing for so long. Finally, someone said, yeah, chị nên, dạy mấy người tiếng Anh đi. And then, so I just needed an extra push. And sometimes, people push you. And when the timing is right, and they tell you at the right time, you get the right person to push you at the right time, then you feel this like superpower. And I'm not afraid to fail. And that's the other thing. Like, if you're not afraid to fail, there's really nothing at risk, then it's much easier to just let yourself do it, let yourself be free. So I'm teaching English, and the feedback has been incredible. I feel like I'm being useful. And as you get older, if you feel like what you're doing makes a difference, that keeps you young. It keeps you motivated. And so I'm like really enjoying myself and I'm learning, right?
You,
Đọc mấy cái
yeah.
comment của người ta đó, mình học được thêm tiếng Việt nữa. So I'm getting both ends of the deal. So it's really been amazing. And it's only been 1 month.
A year ago, we were talking about doing the podcast that we did together in Vietnamese, and there was pushback because you're like, oh, there's no way. I listened to your new Vietnamese podcast with the English, and I'm like, what the? I cannot believe the improvement in such a short time.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, because I think we did try to speak a little bit of Vietnamese, in a pre-interview or something, and I was like, okay, it's a little choppy, and I'm not speaking. You're the one speaking mostly. I'm just asking questions. So, yeah, and then now I'm listening to the ad lib improv just off the cuff, and oh my god, it's hilarious. I turned on the one where you something about lying and. You said this is
live
not
stream, huh?
Live stream. That was it. That was the opening. It was
live stream.
Yeah, live stream, and the clarity and just the jokes were so light, and I was just mind blown how natural it is to kind of fall into the space, and it's like you're really built for this.
Thank you. I'm naturally like I think I'm funny. I don't know who else thinks it. I have a sense of humor that I couldn't show when I was working for CBS. You're not supposed to be funny. You're supposed to read scripts. And then 90% of the stuff we talked about was very serious, right? So nhiều lúc người ta gặp ngoài đường, người ta nghĩ, oh my gosh, you're so funny. Like, I thought you were really, uptight. Yeah. And so now I'm able to just be me. And really, like in anything that you do, if you're allowed to just be yourself, one, it's easy. You don't have to pretend. And two, if you've got something to share with people and you do it from a place where it's just, listen, I'm just sharing it. Thật sự mình không phải là dạy người ta anything. Đây là mình chia sẻ. It's very different, right? And I have a love for language and I want to help people. Right. So like, I'm not doing this to make money. I know that if I charged to hold a class, right now I've got hundreds of emails of people who want to sign up and pay for a class. I'm not doing that.
Right.
Cái trách nhiệm của mình là khi mà mình tạo ra một cái khóa học rồi mình charge tiền, it's totally different. Cái feeling này là okay, I just want to help.
Yeah.
Right? Nếu có người mà muốn học thì tôi dạy, có người dạy thì tôi học. I've learned a lot from people.
Right.
Yeah, just like you said, my Vietnamese has gotten better là tại vì nhiều lúc mình đang nói chuyện mình không biết cái từ đó. Oh, I don't know how to say that in Vietnamese. Nhìn xuống, có người comment, and I learned something else. So it's perfect.
The news business seems to be so, what you said about stiff and, the back and forth that you're just talking about right now, it's missing. Mm-hmm. And this is we're in a new world where personalities that are giving this information can also take the information in.
Right. And I think viewers' habits have changed. If you look back in like the 70s, right? The news was different then. The news was very stiff.
Top down.
And mostly all white males, by the way. Right. And so as the public changes, as our wants and needs and our preferences change, then the people in front of the camera have to change. Otherwise, you're just not going to last. You're not going to do well.
So I want to ask you about your phonetic training. The pronunciation, the way you break things down are so simple, clean. It makes me think like, did you have like 4 years of this sort of breaking down in journalism school alongside with what you can and cannot cover? Or is it something that you just kind of picked up along the way and you just intuitively know how to explain this?
Well, I think it just comes naturally. A lot of people ask me, did you take special classes? No, I took no classes. So normally in a lot of journalism, it's concentrating on how to put a story together,
Right.
how to write, right? How to write to video, that kind of thing. Like no one really teaches you about enunciation, right? So it's not just pronunciation, it's enunciation.
Can,
And
can you explain the difference between the two?
well, when you pronounce something, like you know how to say it. But when you enunciate, it's very clear, right? Perhaps you know how to pronounce excitement, right?
Yeah.
It's a fun word. You know how to pronounce it, but when you enunciate, excitement, nó nghe rất là rõ. And because I have at least enough knowledge in both languages, it's a lot easier for me to say, like the word nine. Okay, quý vị nói cái chữ nine được, right? So when you can associate it with a word you already know, it's a lot easier. Còn khi mà người khác dạy, nhất là người ngoại quốc, họ chỉ nói, mình nói theo, họ nói, mình nói theo. Nó không có, it doesn't help. Nhiều lúc mình nghĩ mình đang nói đúng không? Right? Trong đầu mình khác, ra miệng mình nó khác luôn. So when you have someone to say, bây giờ quý vị nói nine, okay, nói nine đi. Okay, at home they say nine. Rồi bây giờ phải bỏ chữ N ở sau. Nine. Nine. It's different. Có thể khi đó mà nếu mà người dạy mình là người ngoại quốc, nine, it's hard for you to associate it with anything. Right, so no special classes. Cũng là cái, I think I said it right before, là mình có cái khiếu về ngôn ngữ. So that's what I'm sharing. Like I took no classes. I just love to do it. Right? Finally, I can do something and share it. Hồi trước mỗi lần mà, and I even like correct người Mỹ. Yeah.
Now,
and at first they argue with me, and then they look it up, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you're right." You know,
the ability to pronounce and to enunciate correctly, whether it's in Vietnamese or in English, there's implications. There are huge implications in the way we enunciate and pronounce things, because that sort of, whether we like it or not, it categorizes us in these different social classes, I feel, right?
Of course.
If you don't have your shit together in terms of like you walk into your house and it's not clean, it's not crisp, there's a sort of judgment that happens with language.
Yeah.
The clearer we enunciate, the clearer we speak with nine, or the way we just carry out our breath flow and our airflow and trip up, it's unfortunately, it distinguishes where you are. I mean, all over Vietnam and all over the United States or Germany, wherever you go, if you can speak clearly, it just puts you in a, and that's something I think a lot of people don't think about too often, but we're kind of in this world in business that we use our voice. This is our tool. So
Right.
I think about that a lot.
Well, communication is important in every aspect of life, whether it's professional, business, friendship, relationships. The ability to communicate is so important. And so, for instance, if you're talking business and professional, you're absolutely right. The enunciation, the intonation, the way you say something, right? They can look at you and say, oh, yeah, she knows what she's talking about. They may not take you seriously if you don't sound like you know what you're talking about. On the flip side, if you're involved in a relationship and you're always talking like this, that's no fun. So you have to know when, right, to be a perfectionist. I'm a perfectionist. And then you have to know when to let it loose. And it's okay to be casual. So like sometimes when even during my YouTube lessons, nhiều lúc mình nói tiếng Việt, I know là cái chữ là không, tôi không muốn đâu nha. But sometimes I say, tôi không muốn nha. Okay, so it's just the way you say it. You can sound friendly or you can sound very professional. And you just have to learn how to balance it. In fact, I mean, that's the beauty of language. Whether it's Vietnamese or English, knowing how to manipulate, right, your voice, your presentation, and your knowledge of the language is so, so important. Right? Nếu mà mình đi học mà cái người thầy giáo, người cô giáo, cái cách họ dạy, cái cách họ nói chuyện, mình nghe mình không có, you're really not interested, then you're not going to learn anything. Right?
Yeah.
So presentation is also very, very important. Không phải là mình phát âm hay thôi là that makes you good. No. Also the way in which you talk. Yeah.
Yeah, the playful way in Vietnamese when you say không or hong, there's this cute factor or this, you can really go into a street style speaking Vietnamese as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, and same thing with English.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So you can be really, you could be really casual, talk like you're from the streets. It just depends on the situation.
One of my biggest TikToks is a clip of Nguyen saying she didn't really speak Vietnamese in the beginning when she started her career. And as the face of Paris by Night and as an MC, hearing that is mind-blowing because, her, not only her diction, her enunciation, her pronunciation is on point, but her knowledge of the Vietnamese culture is like, it's up there, obviously, with somebody with like JUNG Nguyen, which is her co-host. You have to be at a certain, cultural level to kind of like go toe-to-toe with somebody like that. But she says that she really learned Vietnamese on the job. Her mother wrote like a 30-page script in the very show, and she memorized it. Mm-hmm. She thought about it. And I wanted to talk about how malleable our language skills are. Do you think that it's a talent, or do you think it's a sort of like a, somebody, obviously some people are really gifted like you are, but how much of that can we change?
Well, I think it's a kind of both. Like if you have a gift for it, if you have a certain talent to pick up, mình nghe mình biết, right? Nhiều lúc mình nghe there's a difference, nhưng mà mình nghe không có được, mình không có distinguish được. So if you have a talent, if you have a gift, and mình chăm học, that's great.
Yeah.
Chứ nếu mà mình chăm học nhưng mà mình không có cái khả năng thì cũng không được luôn, right? So if you have both, that's great. I've always said I am so jealous of Kỳ Duyên, just her Vietnamese to me is amazing. Like, I wish I could speak Vietnamese like her. Like, mình nghe mà mình thèm, mình muốn, I wish I could talk like that. But I just don't, one, I really never had the immersive experience that she did. That was her job. When I worked for Asia, it was one of the hardest things I ever did because like Kỳ Duyên nói hồi trước, she memorized, có thể là she không có hiểu mình đang nói gì. When I worked for Asia, that was exactly what I did.
Right.
Nó rất là khó nếu mà mình lên mình nói nhưng mà mình không có hiểu cái từ đó là cái ý nghĩa như gì. Right? Well, I'm just repeating and reading what I think it should be.
Right.
That's very, very difficult. So I wish I had the command of the Vietnamese language like Kỳ Duyên does. Like she is really, really talented. I hear it and it's like music to my ears.
Yeah, she is. Nhưng mà em nghĩ đó là nếu mà chị về Việt Nam, chị sống chừng 2 năm mà chị sống trong cái gần những người mà như là Thùy Minh from Vietcetera. Chị nói chuyện với Thùy Minh, she's the best podcaster
oh, really?
Is out there. She's superb. And she speaks English fluently and she speaks Vietnamese. She's at the Guzin level. If you spent 2 years hanging out with somebody like that as a good friend and you spoke nothing but Vietnamese, I think you can easily do it.
Oh, I agree.
Easily.
Yeah, I agree, which is why it's so important when people want to learn English, they have to learn it like on a consistent basis. You know, the bad thing about learning English in Vietnam is that mình đọc sách thôi cũng cái phát âm nó đâu có làm sao mà nó chính xác được. Rồi nếu mà cô giáo thầy giáo có cái accent thì mình học theo họ thôi, right?
Right.
So it's the same thing. Which is why I think my channel is blowing up, because people realize the importance of hearing it, practicing it over and over again, and having some sort of direction or explanation, right? Like the number 6. You and I, we think that's easy. Nhưng mà đối với người Việt Nam rất là khó. Nhưng mà nó chỉ là cái thói quen thôi. Six. Okay. Nhưng mà they can make the other sound. Six.
Nhưng mà nó tốn công, tốn sức.
Yeah, they've gotten lazy.
Yeah.
Rồi nó thành thói quen. Bởi vậy, mình học cái gì cũng vậy. Nó thói quen thôi. So I wish I had the time to just spend time with someone who spoke just Vietnamese to me. Ken biết không, nhiều lúc mình 1 tháng, 2 tháng không có nói tiếng Việt luôn. Right? My kids nói chuyện với ba má thì nói bằng text, tại vì they đang ở Việt Nam đó, cái giờ giấc nó khác nhau, vẫn là cứ text thôi. Bởi vậy bây giờ đọc á, thì giỏi hơn hồi trước nhiều. Nhưng mà nhiều lúc mình 1 tháng cũng không có nói tiếng Việt với ai hết trơn á. So when I do this YouTube channel, it makes me speak it, which I love. That's how I'm learning.
You know, for people like us, when we're learning Vietnamese on a deeper level now, one of the best ways that I've began.
What did you say before that? One of the best ways.
One of the best ways, yes. I'm so
I began.
Aware of my language now.
Began.
So, is to listen to rappers in Vietnam. And then,
really?
Yes. Suboy, Benzi, Wowie. The language, because they're evolving. They are the next evolution of the Vietnamese language. So they're on the cutting edge. So people like Binzi, the wordplay is so intense. You have to sit and you have to wait and process what he's saying. And it's very simple, but you know that in the simplicity, there was like probably months or weeks that he had to come up with those phrases. You know, Eminem does it, just off the top of his head. Benzi's doing it and Benzi's fluent in both languages, Vietnamese and English. So he's blending English into the rap lyrics in Vietnamese at a high level.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, so if you look up Binz, Binz, it is phenomenal to sit and just ponder what he's saying and how he's saying things. And he's very respectful in certain ways where there's this sort of retention of the Vietnamese culture, but definitely pushing the outer limits of, money and that kind of rapper's lifestyle. So there's this weird balance that's the evolution of the Vietnamese culture. And it's not similar to Korean culture. To me, it's very Vietnamese.
Oh, cool. And, when you say that, that brings up another thing that I have, that I discovered very quickly. Dĩ nhiên mỗi lần mà mình ra trước mặt cộng đồng á, okay? So when you're public, you're going to have people who aren't going to like you.
Right.
You're going to have people who are going to nitpick. Okay? Nitpick tiếng Việt Nam kêu là gì hả?
Soi mói. Soi mói is...
Soi mói? Chưa bao giờ nghe.
Soi mói is, getting all up in your business. Nosy. But that's not nitpick.
Nitpick.
Caught you. No. It's my mom calls me that all the time. So I can khó tánh. phức tạp. Phức tạp is not. Phức tạp is complex.
Nhiều lúc là tiếng Anh mình không có dịch thẳng được. Nó không có thôi. There's some words, there's no translation.
Yep.
Mình có thể dịch cái ý nghĩa. Nhưng mà nhiều từ không có. Nó không có chính xác được. Right? But anyway, giống như là cái chữ chuẩn. Chuẩn thì Leyna mới học sau này cũng là nghe người ta nói mình nói theo thôi. Rồi lên YouTube nói, có người viết comment là don't speak that stupid communist taught language. And I don't know. Right? Mình nghe thôi, mình nghe, mình học. Mình biết là cái meaning nó như vậy thì mình dùng, mình xài thôi chứ đâu có. And so it's interesting that some people are very resistant to the evolution of the Vietnamese language.
God.
Right?
Yeah.
And when you're public, you open yourself up to those kind of attacks. You know, thật sự là mình đâu có ý gì đâu. Mình nghe, cái đó là cái chữ mình đã nghe từ bạn bè ở đây nè. My friends here use it. They didn't learn it from anyone who was communist. They learned it from someone else. And actually, that's the way information spreads.
Yeah. I have a very interesting story about this word JUNG, and the way it bleeds into our vernacular is years ago, there's these like weird memes, but you'll see like JUNG man, right?
JUNG gì?
JUNG man. Man is a man, right?
Oh,
like,
okay.
Superior man. Like, this is the model man.
Oh.
Right? So you would see these memes or you would see these like commentaries and it's like, no, JUNG man, right?
Oh.
And that was in the communist vernacular in society, in colloquial usage. And so people started, I don't know what came first, if they started to pick it up. I'm sure it's been around for a long time when people call things Jordan, right? But that started my brother and I to start commenting on everything. Cái con heo đó nó chuẩn. Cái món này nó chuẩn, hay là cái áo này nó chuẩn, hay là cái cô đó chuẩn, right? We would just start playing with that. We'd start busting it out. So now my brother and I use it. Well, we're like basically, you know, I'm born in the US, but I bust that out all the time. And I think that yes, it did originate. But come on, 98 million people. We have 2 million diaspora. Come on, we got to be borrowing from each other because things are funny.
Right.
And JUNG man is a combination of
But not only that, người Việt mình nhiều lúc cái cách mình phê bình nữa, cái cách mà mình I don't know how the Vietnamese say it. Mình nếu mà xây dựng là khác.
Critic, being constructive.
Mình nói một cách mà mình xây dựng cho người ta là khác. Còn cái kia mà họ giống như là họ
hạ mình, phê bình bắt bẻ, you know, that's awful. Nên mình nghe như vậy mình không có thích, mình không có muốn học luôn á. Okay.
Bởi vậy nếu it's the same thing with, you know, con em mình cũng vậy. Mình muốn dạy nói tiếng Việt. They do it in a way that's constructive and loving. Bởi vậy, nhưng mà cái đó là Leyna cũng là một cái bài học bây giờ mình biết. So I changed it. Bây giờ Leyna bây giờ không nói chuẩn nữa, nói sao nói chính xác. Khi mà mình mean chính xác thì mình nói chính xác.
That's right.
Right? But other words like đăng ký thì hồi trước giờ cũng nghe là đăng ký thôi, đâu có biết là nó, nhiều người nghĩ là cái đó là từ của Cộng sản. I'm like, what? I didn't know that.
But đăng ký is such a regular word, like you register. Yeah, you register to vote. Yeah.
Thì nếu mà ai mà cảm thấy khó chịu, nghe mà khó chịu cái lỗ tai á, thì mình cũng là, you know, it constructively. Leyna nên nói cái chữ này chứ đừng, you know, chứ đừng có tự nhiên lên nói, you know, stupid. Come on.
But you know, I play the code switching game. I get to Vietnam. I don't say bảo đảm nha. I say đảm bảo. Yeah, I'll flip it because, you know, if it's, you know, this code switching thing in Vietnam, I take advantage of it because then it's like, okay, I use it as a tool to blend in, and they're not going to look at me and I'm going to blend in, but blending in terms of understanding that your language is something that I have ingested in my vernacular, my way of speaking to you. I'm not going to or separate our, I'm not going to create. Yes, I'm not going to create a space here. I'm going all in, and I'm going to be with you.
Actually, and that to me is really a matter of respect.
Right.
I respect this is the way you speak the language, and I'm trying to assimilate. It's actually very respectful. And when people, so I'm learning a lot, which I love.
Yeah.
I've always said cái tiếng Việt của Leyna là đủ xài thôi. Bởi vậy nếu mà mình học thêm được, that's great, and I want to. So anyway, I'm learning a lot about these words, and I just wish people, if they're going to try to, teach someone anything, that just do it nicely.
Yeah, but I want to comment on that too. I read my comments a lot, and I get maybe a few a day. And I tell my mom, because my mom's always worried about, or my brother, or people around me are worried about people reacting to whether it's like communists or whatever transgender issue,
right?
Controversy. And I tell people all the time, when I read my comments, it's 99% good comments for me. And I told my mom and my brother and my wife and my close family, it's like, and here's what I'm saying to you. You have good problems, because when you start getting a lot of negative, that means that you've reached a certain critical mass, right? So I'm like sitting by my phone every day waiting for the bad comments to come. That means I've hit this sort of like, where you are. It's like, so it's a good problem. It's a blessing that you now have critics that are like going after your usage of the word "JUNG." It's like that. You've done made it when you have haters, right?
Yeah, no, it's fine. I'm used to it. I've dealt with it really my entire adult life. Back when I was singing, same thing. Oh my gosh, I experienced. By the way, so I have, and I'm sure you are probably familiar with them. There is a group that's doing a documentary on New Wave.
Yes, Elizabeth I.
Yes. So I've been talking with her. The jealousy and the envy and the way Vietnamese love to pull each other down is one thing that we really need to get over. And I think the younger generation is so much better at that. The reason why the Vietnamese on the big, on the world stage is still so small is because we're so busy trying to tear each other down.
Crabs in a pot.
Yes, exactly. But what I'm seeing, especially on social media, this uplifting of other Asians, it's wonderful. And we need more of that. We need not just supporting other Asians, supporting other Vietnamese. Now, I do have a problem with people saying you should vote for someone just because they're Vietnamese. No, you shouldn't. In fact, that's kind of dumb. You should be voting for someone according to their policies, according to how well they align with your beliefs.
Okay.
Right? People used to tell me, like, I should support someone just because they're female. No. So I don't agree with that. But Vietnamese should stop tearing other Vietnamese down.
Okay. So I kind of wanted to stay out of this, but we're going to get into it, I guess.
We're in it.
I guess, yeah. All right. So I am a huge fan of the way Sean Lay thinks, the way he presents, the clarity of his mind. It's so, his communication skills, both in English and Vietnamese, are so amazing. But one thing that I am kind of uncomfortable about, for example, I'll bring out an example, and I'm not here to chỉ trích or to put him.
Chỉ trích là, oh, that's a good one.
Chỉ trích is is to say,
Oh.
like to point out the bad, right? I'm not. I'm
Okay.
here to constructively criticize and figure out if there's a way out of this paradigm. And here's what I mean.
Mm.
So I think the prime minister came to, I don't know if it was San Francisco or DC from Vietnam. And it's like back room, when the hot mics are on and they catch, I don't know if you know about this. And they caught the prime minister with his homies in the green room, right? Before they're going to go meet Biden or whoever, Biden's assistants and the hot mic catches the prime minister and they go off. And it is hilarious because it's like boys bantering and
Right.
these are grown ass men talking about and Sean Lay breaks it down, and his breakdown in the Vietnamese language is hilarious because he gets down and really brings it into focus, and the way he goes about it is just comical, and I applaud the way his style. It's really funny and entertaining. But what you just said about being crabs in a pot, God damn it, we just got to get the prime minister into this, this place at the White House or White House adjacent. I don't know where it was. We got to cut. I'm not saying that we got to cut these guys some slack. It's great to bring them up, but is there another way to administer our critique in a way that's building up, society in Vietnam? Because they don't have the quote unquote the technology on the etiquette to kind of like carry themselves in a place where there's so much pressure, and to be a leader of these, a leader of 98 million people rolling into the back room with their homies talking that way is completely unacceptable. But is there another way that we don't do the crab in the pot thing,
Well, but see, I don't think that is a matter of crab in the pot. That is a matter of politics. So if there wasn't any kind of
pushback,
anti-communism type theme that Shanley has, he may not have done that.
Right.
Like if it was, is it Hung Gao?
Yeah.
Right, is that the
new, yeah.
Right. So if it was him, would Shanley be doing that? No. He just wouldn't. So I don't think it's a crabs in the pot, that particular thing. I think it's just the politics of it.
Yeah, it's a branding alignment thing with Sean.
Right.
However, but if you pull back at the 30,000 foot view, right, it is crabs in the pot because we're Vietnamese. And I'm not saying that you should be silent about it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying let's break it down and let's offer, instead of like putting so much heat on the comedy side, which is entertainment. I'm not saying it's. I think Sean Lay is a brilliant mind when he comes and does these kind of these segments. But at the same time, I want to see the Vietnamese government step up in an organic way where, okay, they fuck up, then they have to step up and become better people. Instead of us like on the other side, quote unquote, laughing at them. And that's crab in the pot to me.
Mm. Well, and then I just think it's all very political, right? Very, very political. And funny, when I talked to Sean Lay, I told him, I just took one look at his channel and I said, I am not going to get into politics, right? So that is my rule with him, is that if I go on his show, if I talk to him, we're not doing politics. I'm just not going to do it. Because one, there's enough of that. I don't need it in my life. I have my own thoughts, and really, my thoughts really shouldn't matter to you when I'm speaking English, teaching English. Shouldn't matter, right? So most of my stuff, I stay as far away from that politics as possible.
I am straddling because the nature of the people I talk to and the subject matter I talk to is political, but I'm constantly finding a way to not be crabs in the pot and not to offer any sort of fake and inorganic bridge building. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to expand the conversation culturally, whether it's Vietnam, Dublin, Australia, Germany, wherever Vietnamese people happen to be. But oftentimes there's political undertones to whoever we're talking to, and it's a tough thing to kind of close the gap culturally all over the world. I don't want to blanch, everybody's experience and who they are, but at the same time, if we don't come together, like you said, and really support each other the way the Asian American community is doing it, then we're going to be far behind the pack in terms of getting our, your experience. I'm like, I really want to know what your experience with the New Wave documentary is, but because it's weird that you brought it up, and you brought the crab in the pot right away from that, and I don't know how we're going to change this if we're not talking about this.
Well, when I look at you and what you're doing, it's much more similar to what I was doing as a journalist, where you're objective, right? You're not taking sides. And when I first started in TV news in Los Angeles, the Vietnamese community took a long time before they realized, oh, she's a journalist. My job is to present both sides. So in the beginning, when I covered the protests going on in Orange County, a lot of people were mad at me because they thought I was making the community look bad. No, I'm covering the news. There's a huge difference between taking sides and presenting, right? That's you. You're doing much more of that than a person like Sean Lay, who clearly leans, right? So he's more of a personality. So there's a huge difference. But when you're talking about, let's build each other, let's lift each other up, which I want to do that. We got to do it in our own backyard first before we start worrying about this, people on the other side of the world when you also have politics involved. I'm talking about the problem that our community has within our small community here. Why can't we be happy for other people here who are having some success of their own? So why not lift those people up instead of saying, oh, he's not so great. Oh, he's only doing that. Come on. There's room for everybody. And we shouldn't take someone else's success personally, as in it makes you look bad. Just because I'm successful shouldn't make you feel like, well, she's making me look bad. Like, that's elementary thinking. That's what a child thinks, right? We're not children, so don't act like children. And just be better than that and realize that when someone in our community is doing something positive, we should back that. We should celebrate that.
Okay, I'm going to try to ask this without being political.
Sure.
But what you just said, we should back people who are doing good, right? Mm-hmm. And here's the problem, like I'm having right now in this moment. 2 days ago, streets of Vietnam erupted. We beat Thailand in the SEA Games. Everywhere you look, there's that flag. How can I bring myself to celebrate with such a wonderful moment in the history of Vietnam? I mean, this has happened twice, I think, but now it's happening. It's going to happen more regularly. We got basketball. We have all of these sports, and soccer is the big thing worldwide. And why can I not celebrate? I can't put this stuff up on my Facebook page. I can't go social with it. Nothing. I am completely at a disadvantage in terms of how I want to celebrate this goddamn moment. I am so repressed. How do I deal with this?
Well, it's whether you care or not. And the thing is, if you didn't care, that wouldn't stop you from doing it, right? The thing is, we all care because we all know how flammable it is, right? So if you didn't care, you just do it. But it's something that we won't be able to change, I think, for generations. Certainly, like my mom and dad, me, this whole generation, we're still very sensitive about that. And we're very cognizant that even though we ourselves don't care, a lot of other people do who may affect your livelihood, who may affect your relationships, right? And that's something that really is going to take so much time. And it's going to require people who are going to step up.
Yeah, I was just
people who will
that.
sacrifice themselves, right? So you're going to have to be the sacrificial lamb there, Ken.
Yeah. Well, you know what I was thinking? I was like, if I wore a thong, right, that have half of I'm just trying to be entertaining here. If I was a sacrificial lamb and I wore a thong with the front side with a U.S. flag and the back side or whatever, we flipped it around somehow and been that entertaining and been the Ken Jeong, of that space and said, fuck it. Like, this is, I'm going to go all out, and I'll be the Jacko, the guy on all of these prank, to be the guy who's just like this silly asshole who's out there who says, I don't care. And, I have 4 uncles who were in the camps. I have a grandfather who perished in Viet Minh, all of it historically. I fit a box. And then I'm going to shift here because I'm going to wear that red flag with the yellow star. Mm-hmm. I hope nobody takes that out of context, but that's the kind of like absurdity that you have to go through to kind of puncture that fourth wall, if you will.
Right. And the thing is, I think you would actually do it had it not been for the people in your life. You're not going to do it because it's going to affect your mom.
Yeah.
It's going to affect your wife, your family, your business. Yep. It's going to affect you. And that's what makes it so hard. And it wouldn't be called a sacrifice if it wasn't that hard. And for some people, it's important enough to them to actually do that. And so you have to weigh the cost of doing something like that. Some people just aren't willing.
I'm glad we're talking about it, though, because it opens up the door a little bit. It cracks the door open, a little bit more lights coming through right now. It's the fact that we're even making fun of it. But it is a pain point of mine where, I know my brother's been there for 19 years now, and I'm here, and I know he's like secretly like so happy to be a part of that because that's where he was born. He was like a year old when he left, and to see the streets shoulder to shoulder with Vietnamese people celebrating a win internationally in that part of the world, come on. We're locked out of that.
Yeah.
We're locked out of that.
That's unfortunate. That's really, really unfortunate. I ran into this when I was doing my YouTube channel because people are asking, how much does it cost to take your class? And I'm not going to do that. So I'm doing everything just for free, and whoever benefits from it, great. But I do ask people that if anyone wants to, I would love to support my charity. That way I help you, and then you can turn around and help me help other people, right?
Yeah.
And of course, I got a couple of people who said, don't help people in Vietnam. That's something the government should do, blah, blah, blah. And for some people that's okay. To me, I think that's an excuse.
Yeah.
To me, it's like, if you don't want to help, fine. But shut the hell up and let people who have the heart and the ability to help others do it. Right? I'm not going to punish innocent people over political ideals that they have no control over.
I agree.
Right? So for the families and the children that we help, it's not their fault. I'm not going to punish them. So mấy người mà hay nói như vậy đó, okay? Nếu mà người ta giỏi, go do something.
Yeah. You know what? Let's use this to talk about love across the ocean. Leyna, right? Let's talk about, I think you have an event coming up in June. Which is right around the corner. But let's talk about that for a little bit. I think we have limited time, and I know that you got to get going. But let's talk about that before we end the show.
Sure. So June 24th, it is actually my first fundraising dinner in the Vietnamese community. Even though we've been around, we've been working for over 2 decades, nearly 3 decades. I really feel suddenly, like recently, I feel this desire to connect even more with the Vietnamese community. And so I said, okay, we're going to do this event. I didn't know how much work it was going to be, but I am so pleasantly surprised by how many people who've reached out to me and said, bây giờ chỉ cần gì em giúp nè. Like Ann Oliver, House of M Beauty, young Vietnamese.
Shout out to her.
Oh, she's awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah. And it's that mentality of helping and pushing up, lifting up other Vietnamese who are doing something that we think is positive. So it's great. Anyway, June 24th, it's going to be this like new wave reunion with some of the singers I used to travel with, and then also some of today's singers. And it's a women empowering thing. My project is to help women in Vietnam. You know, mấy người mà không có chồng đó, so single moms, divorced, widowed women who are often ignored. And so this Summer of Love event is going to be for women. That's why I only have female singers. Even the restaurant I chose is female-owned, Vietnamese female-owned. And so I'm hoping that I'll get a lot of support. So far, we've sold out all the VIP tickets very, very quickly. And it's going to be fun. And it's going to be kind of I hope I'll be doing it every year. But it's a way for us to get together, not only have some fun, but to support and help, people who are less fortunate than us.
Where can we get details to get tickets for that?
Well, you can, if you follow me on Facebook, always, you can message me, or loveacrosstheocean.org.
Perfect.
So now you have to spell loveacrosstheocean.org.
I am going to be in Vietnam, I think, but hopefully, I arrive back on the 24th, I think, at this point. But if I make it back sooner, if I can change it, I'll
amazing.
Try to come by. Thank you so much. I really like this, our checking-ins and the help that you've given me in my on my journey. I really do appreciate it, and I love to get on these podcasts with you to check in, and it's just so fun to see the development, and inspiring to see the work that you've done.
Thanks, Ken. And I would love that. And I was thinking earlier when we were talking about people lifting people up, if you have the knowledge and the experience, but you don't share it with anyone, it's kind of pointless.
Yeah.
Right? There are people who they found something great, or they developed knowledge and experience, but they don't want to share it with anyone else. And there are a lot of people like that. Like, you may meet someone with a very successful podcast or YouTube channel. They don't want to share it with you. I want to. So like when you asked me about stuff, I want to share that with you, because to me, if you succeed, I succeed. Like, I really do see it that way. I love seeing a young Vietnamese American doing something in this arena, right? I want to see you being successful. That's how we change all the bad things we were talking about. That's how we change it. So I loved that you reached out to me, and really we were helping each other. So yes. Spreading the word, spreading the love.
And thank you for that. And I firmly agree that we need to have 20 to 40 more podcasters in this space doing this work, because then the amplification, the signaling goes much further out, and it just becomes stronger and stronger. I've seen this happen in the American podcasting industry, where the big guy brings in 20 of his younger, right? His disciples, and then they just start, and then that main leader guy just gets elevated, and the messaging that they do just starts to elevate as a result of the other 20 just pushing, and then they just have the same people on the show. But the guests, you get to hear different angles and different perspectives of the same people that they bring on. So I think it's always going to be a win-win if we have Vietnamese Americans, or even Vietnamese people that, I bring podcasters from Vietnam on, and, it's such a wonderful place to kind of integrate our new and old culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. Like, if you have success and you just hold it on to yourself, that's not really success.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Leyna, and hope to see you very soon.
Okay. Practice your English, everybody.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Vietnamese with Kenneth Nguyen. The Vietnamese is produced by Brittany Tran. Special thanks to Jane Nguyen, Catherine Nguyen, Tina Pham, Sydney Jamie, and Christo Trin. Please find us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at The Vietnamese Podcast. You can also find us on YouTube, where you can subscribe, like, and comment. Please rate and give us a review wherever you find our podcasts. Thanks again for listening.